Namaskaram. Welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about the ancient Indian knowledge system and the texts that are related to it, Shruti and Smriti. The foundational texts of Hinduism are esteemed as divine revelations, which can be categorized into two groups. Number one is called as Shruti. Shruti means that which is heard or that which is revealed. And the second one is called Smriti, which means that which is remembered. Both Shruti and Smriti constitute the Indian knowledge traditions. Let us more deep dive into what these Shruti and Smritis are. Shruti is that which is revealed as scriptures. The Vedas are called as the Shruti. These are not translated from Sanskrit, so can only be studied by Brahmins and other people who knew Sanskrit. Whereas Smritis, on the contrary, is remembered scriptures. Puranas, laws of Manu, Ramayana, the Mahabharata are all Smritis. Smriti can be translated and made into cartoon strips and various other interpretations, whereas Shruti cannot be. Shruti consists of the four Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atharvana Veda. It also has Upanishads. Originally, there were more than 100. Maybe later 50 or so are preserved, and 18 or so are being studied, whereas it has been very well commentated upon on 10 Upanishads. We also have Bhagavad Gita, a part of the Mahabharata under the Shruti literature. Smriti, on the contrary, will have the Dharma Shastras, which are the law codes, for example, Manusmriti, Yagyavalkya Smriti, and so on. Then we have the epics like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Also included are the Puranas and Itihasas. There are many such in this tradition like Shiva Purana, Bhagavata Purana, and so on and so forth. And we also have the Itihasas of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Agamas and Tantras, which are the sectarian scriptures, are also a part of Smriti. Some traditions consider their agamas as Shruti scriptures, like Shiva Purana is actually an agama also. Then we also have the darshanas or the manuals of philosophy. Each school has its own literature. Say, for example, Yoga Sutras of sage Patanjali or sage Kanada and various others are included as the Darshana Shastras. So, Shruti, translated as to which that is heard or revealed, these texts are regarded as directly revealed by the divine, embodying the highest authority in the Indian soil. Shruti texts are considered eternal, uncreated, and timeless, described as the Apaurisheya. Apaurisheya means not of human origin at all, written by God Himself. The principal Shruti texts are the Vedas, comprising of the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atharvana Veda. Each Veda includes the Sanhitas, which are called as the hymns, the Brahmanas, which are called as the ritual texts, the Aranyakas, the forest treatises, and the Upanishads, which are the philosophical texts. Shruti text reveals as the primary source of Hindu religion's knowledge, forming the bedrock of Hindu philosophy, rituals, and spirituality. They are preserved through oral tradition, meticulously transmitted through chanting, which is known as Shruti Patha, and are revered as sacred texts that are studied and recited by priests and scholars to maintain their purity and authenticity. The second types of texts are called as Smritis. The term Smriti, translated as that which is remembered or that has become the tradition. These texts are considered of human origin and compiled over time by sages, scholars, and lawgivers. While not directly revealed by the divine, Smriti texts are inspired by the principles that are found in Shruti. They encompass a broad spectrum of subjects, including the law, which are called as Dharma Shastras, ethics, rituals, social customs, philosophy, mythology, and narratives. Say, for example, the Grihya Sutras, which are the sutras or the uh, rules that are given for a domestic person, or maybe the Apastamba Shrauta Sutras. The Shrauta Sutras are the sutras that are related to performing of yagyas and yagas, or maybe Manusmriti, or Yagyavalkya Smriti, or the Narada Smriti or the Narada Bhakti Sutras are all belonging to Smriti literature. It also has the Smriti texts are authoritative yet secondary to Shruti, offering practical guidelines for religious, rituous, and virtuous living. They are consulted for matters of law, ethics, social conduct, and religious practices, providing insights that scholars and practitioners study and interpret to apply Hindu teachings in daily life. Smriti texts also include the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The first Indian epic is the Ramayana, which consists of 24,000 verses divided into 7 books, composed about 6,500 years ago. The Mahabharata is the longest epic in the world literature with 100,000 two-line stanzas, first that is composed around 5,000 years ago. Both the Ramayana and the Mahabharata belong to the Smriti texts. If you look at the textual analysis of the Vedas, each Veda is organized into 4 main parts: the Sanhitas, the Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, and the Upanishads. The Sanhitas are the core texts comprising hymns, prayers, and mantras that form the foundation of Vedic rituals, spiritual practices, and so on. The 4 important Samhitas are the Rig Veda Samhita, which is the oldest Veda containing 1028 hymns that are devoted to ancient Indian gods. The Yajurveda Samhita is a handbook for priests performing sacrifices. The Samaveda Samhita includes the chants and songs to sing during sacrifices. And the Atharva Veda Samhita or the Atharvana Veda Samhita consists of the ancient spells and magical charms that predate the Aryan influence. The second interesting part in the Vedas, rather each Veda, is called as Brahmanas. The Brahmanas constitute the second part of the Vedas. With the passage of time, the newer generations found the mantras of the Samhitas to be very difficult to understand. An elaborate explanation of the mantras became necessary for them for a proper understanding. The result was the writing of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are explanatory in nature. The Brahmanas consists of Aitareya Brahmana, which belongs to the Rig Veda and contains details about the Ashwamedha, horse sacrifice, and other rituals. The Panchavimsa Brahmana, which belongs to the Samaveda, and it consists details about the old legends and ceremonies. The Satapatha Brahmana, which belongs to the Yajurveda and contains the story of the flood and the origin of caste system in India. The Jaimanya Brahmana, which belongs to the Samaveda, and it contains the description of the daily oblation of the sacrificial fire. The Brahmanas are followed by the Aranyakas. As the name implies, the Aranyakas belong to the forest renditions. The Aranyakas form the third part of the Vedas, and the Sanskrit word Aranya means forest. The Aranyakas were developed by the hermits living in the forests. Due to the limited resources in the forests, they could not perform the conventional sacrifices, nor could they adhere to the rituals. It was then that the Aranyakas were developed and reflect an explicit transition in the philosophy of life of man. We have the examples of Taittiriya Aranyaka linked with the Black Yajurveda or Krishna Yajurveda. This Aranyaka offers mystical insights, philosophical reflections, and explanations of Yajurvedic rituals. The Kena Upanishad In fact, though categorized as an Upanishad, the Kena Upanishad is sometimes regarded as a part of Samaveda Aranyaka. It explores the nature of Brahman and the ultimate reality through a dialogue between a student and a teacher. In essence, Aranyakas provide invaluable insights into the evolution of early Hindu philosophy and spirituality. They serve as pivotal texts bridging the ritualistic aspects elucidated in Brahmanas with the profound philosophical inquiries exploring in Upanishads, thereby enriching our understanding of Vedic wisdom and spiritual development. The next are the Upanishads. The Upanishads represent the culmination of Vedic thought and are revered as the essence of Hindu spirituality. They are a collection of ancient Indian philosophical texts that form the concluding part of the Vedas, the sacred scriptures of Hinduism. Known typically as Vedanta, which means the end of the Vedas, they encapsulate the pinnacle and philosophical essence of Vedic wisdom. The Upanishads delve in the profound philosophical inquiries about the nature of reality, the self or the Atman, and the ultimate reality, the Brahman. They explore metaphysical conceptions such as the relationship between the individual soul and the universal consciousness, emphasizing spiritual teachings aimed at achieving the liberation or moksha from the cycle of birth and death, the samsara. They highlight the significance of self realization, meditation, and knowledge of the inner self as paths to enlightenment. Structured as dialogues between a seeker of knowledge, that is the Sishya or the student, and a spiritual guide, that is the teacher or the Guru, the Upanishads engage in deep questioning and answers that illuminate complex philosophical concepts. Symbolic language is used with allegorical interpretations, metaphors, analogies, and parables, which help to convey the profound truths about the existence and spiritual realities. Traditionally, there were around 108 Upanishads, with approximately 12 to 14 principal ones depending on different classifications. Among the most renowned and widely studied are the Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya, Taittiriya, Aittiriya, and the Kathopanishads. These texts have profoundly influenced the Indian philosophy, spirituality, and religious thought, inspiring numerous commentaries and interpretations by philosophers, scholars, and spiritual leaders throughout history. They continue to be revered and studied globally for their timeless teachings on consciousness, existence, and the nature of reality. Essentially belonging to the four Vedas, we have the 10 basic Upanishads on which Adi Shankaracharya, an eminent philosopher of the 8th century Common Era, revived and consolidated the Advaita Vedanta. The very first Upanishad is what is called as the Isha Upanishad. It emphasizes Brahman as the pervasive divine presence and explores the relationship between the individual soul, that is Atman, and the Brahman. Kena Upanishad is the second one. Kena, the very title itself is why. It has a number of questions and it's a sort of dialogue between the teacher and the student, where the student asks a number of questions and the teacher answers, stressing the realization of Brahman with oneself. Kathopanishad is the third. Katha is a sort of katha, a story, which narrates the story of Nachiketa, who learns about the self, the Atman, and the liberation from none other than the god of death, Yama, exploring the themes of life, death, and eternal soul. Then we have the Prashna Upanishad, which talks about the question related to the universe and its origin and the paths of liberation. Mundaka Upanishad discusses the paths of knowledge, that is Vidya, and the ritual action, that is Karma, and the meditation practices are talked about in it. The Taittiriya Upanishad explores the universal creation, the self, and the Brahman. The Chandogya Upanishad talks about the discourses on reality, the Atman and the realization of the Brahman through meditation and moral teachings. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, one of the oldest and the largest of all, talks about a number of stories, inquiries into reality, consciousness, and the Brahman. The Kaushitaki Upanishad, also known as Kaushitaki Brahman Upanishad, discusses the theological and the philosophical themes of the self and the Brahman. The Shvetasvatara Upanishad expounds Ishvara and spiritual liberation and the various paths that are addressing devotion, meditation, Atman, and the Brahman in various ways. And so, dear students, we have this literature as the profound knowledge exploring the Indian knowledge systems. One is the Shruti, which is the Vedic literature with the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Yatharvana Veda, and Samaveda, each with Aranyakas, Brahmanas, and Upanishads. And we have the Smriti texts with Vedangas, Dharmashastras, Mahakavyas, Puranas, Upavedas, and the Shatdarshanas, which we'll be talking about in the next classes. And hence, in conclusion, let's end this video by telling that Shruti texts represent the primary source of Hindu religious knowledge directly revealed by God, by the divine, whereas the Smriti texts are derived from human memory and tradition, offer practical guidance that are based on Shruti principles. Together, Shruti and Smriti form the intricate tapestry of Hindu scriptures and becomes an integral part to the religious and cultural fabric of Hinduism. The Smritis in particular play a very vital role in Hindu scripture, illuminating the ancient and medieval Indian religious, social, and legal norms, and remain cherished by scholars and practitioners alike for their enduring wisdom and relevance. Thank you very much for being a part of this video. See you in the next video. Bye until then.